Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hey gang, Jim Hill here, and now I know this is typically where you hear Len Testa start up each week's episode of Disney Dish, but before Mr. Testa gets to talking, I wanted to briefly jump in here and let you know about a brand new show that we're about to launch here at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. Now, you know Chris Cox. We just had him on the Disney Dish a week or so back to talk about David Copperfield's Magic Underground. Chris is that super talented magician and mind reader, not to mention a really funny guy. Anyway, Mr. Testa and I are teaming with Mr. Cox on a brand new show, which is called The Case For with Chris Cox. And on every episode, well, Len and Chris will be debating the merits of all sorts of Disney-related topics, things like park hopping and deluxe dining. And where this gets interesting is, well, while I'm the judge presiding over these proceedings, I'm going to need your help when it comes to rendering my final verdict. Anyway, we're launching the very first episode of The Case For with Chris Cox today. So, before you get started with this week's Disney Dish, well, why not head on over to your favorite streaming platform and subscribe to The Case For with Chris Cox, That way, when you're done listening to today's Disney Dish, you'll then have the inaugural episode of The Case For all ready to go, which I promise you'll enjoy. Okay, enough with the gratuitous self-promotion. Thanks for indulging me for a few minutes here. And now, on with this week's Disney Dish.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, September 1st, 2025. On the show today, in news, I try the Magic Kingdom's new Beak Barrel Lounge. In surveys, which villain has the most name recognition? Plus listener questions with lots of math. In our main segment, Jim tells us how Disney's California Adventure prepared for its Cars Land redo in 2012. Let's get started by bringing in the man offering Taylor Swift a coupon worth 10% off his wedding DJ services. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Hey, it is going well, Len. And speaking of Swift Taylors, how many of you out there have played Men in Black Alien Attack over at Universal Studios, Florida? By the way, Len, this interactive ride-through shooter first opened April of 2000, which means that this year, 25th anniversary.
Yay.
Anyway, if you played the ride and you get a high enough score in the attraction, you actually get told before you roll into the offload area that you've become a member of the Men in Black. And you actually get to see the alien Taylor, who's now busy stitching up your Men in Black suit. And you're told just before the section goes dark, it'll be ready to pick up Tuesday. Well, even with my complete lack of hand-eye coordination, I actually got the high score of Men in Black Alien Attack a few years back, and I was told my suit would be ready on Tuesday. That said, Len and I are now recording this podcast Thursday, August 28th, 2025, some 5 years later. So where the hell is my suit?
These things take time.
Well, but that said, Len, I started taking Ozempic this year.
Oh.
So dropped 30 pounds or thereabouts. So even when I get the suit now, it's going to have to get alterations.
Oh, these things take forever.
So, well, no, that's it exactly. I got to wait another 5 years? Oy.
This is why eloping is easier for everyone. I'm just saying.
There we go. Make Casual Friday all week long.
All right, Jim, let's do a shout out to our subscribers. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, including Gregory Berg, Candice Pereira, Mark Andrews, Melissa Howard, Rachel Hamillers, and Taylor G. Jim, these are the Surrey bike designers over at Disney's Boardwalk Resort, ensuring that your 4-person 10-minute loop around Crescent Lake leaves your lungs feeling like you just finished one of the alpine stages at the Tour de France. Among their inventions are bike frames made of the heaviest metal alloys known to science, tires that can't be fully inflated, and sets of brake calipers that come pre-frozen from the factory. True story.
Oof. Okay, yeah, and boy, that sounds like a fun activity on a nice, humid August afternoon.
I did it the other day, and it was hot. Right.
Oh.
And I was just, some friends for that. And my lungs, two things. Like one, my lungs were burning to the point where I was like, I need to get in better cardiovascular shape. But number two, I was like, well, clearly I don't have any heart problems because I would have been dead over by the Swan and Dolphin. Right. Like if anything was actually physically wrong with me, this would have fleshed that out pretty quickly. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let my cardiologist know about this option.
Also cheaper than insurance. I'm just saying. All right.
Okay.
On to the news, folks. The Disney Dish News is sponsored by UnlockedMagic.com from our friends at DVCRentalStore.com. Jim, UnlockedMagic.com has regular Disney theme park tickets and special event tickets for things like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at prices cheaper than Disney's. Every Halloween party in August sold out, Jim, and tomorrow's party, September 2nd, is sold out as well. So if you're planning to go to Orlando this fall, head to UnlockedMagic.com right now to get your tickets.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
The news. All right. Jim, the Beak Barrel had a preview week this week, and I went at the Magic Kingdom. So this is the new bar over by Pirates of the Caribbean. And they took a little bit of space from, I think, the post-ride shopping area, a little bit from the queue, and maybe a little bit from backstage areas. But we got in, and it's fabulous. It's very, very detailed. It's very pretty. There's multiple recurring show scenes. The best analogy that I could come up with is it's Trader Sam's at the Poly, but in a theme park.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah, really detailed. The food items are simple. They're all straightforward. They're all tasty. The drinks are also tasty. I think our friend Steve over at WDW Magic said that they were all pre-made, and there's not even the option to get a custom drink. So you're drinking what's on the menu, right? Which is fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the reason why the drinks are pre-made is because there's a 45-minute time limit for getting in and out. So if you're having a drink and some snacks, the time flies by really fast. It's also loud if you would, as you would expect. I liken it to, scheduling your kid's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. You know what you're getting into as far as the food and the atmosphere go. What you're there for is to hope that everyone has some fun, right? I mean, that's what you're going for there. 8 drinks and all of the food together came to about $240 before gratuity. So it's not cheap. That was for 4 people. Service was great. Everyone plays a role. They'll play along if you want to be a pirate too, which is kind of great. I would definitely go back again. I think it's very, very pretty and there's a ton to see. It's just going to be hard to get into.
Okay. I have not managed to get there personally yet, but friends have shared video, and I want to talk for a second about Rummy, the animatronic.
Rummy the pirate, yeah.
There we go.
The fantastic shows, yeah.
Well, now, what's kind of interesting is Rummy is... I don't know if you've seen the rocket animatronic at DCA in their redo of Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
And how he walks around on the upper level there. And what's kind of interesting is Rummy does the exact same thing.
Yeah, Rummy comes out from like a cage at the very top. He sort of like wanders over, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have spent some money. They have put some thought into the Beak and the Barrel. And as Len mentioned, probably difficult to get into. But, again, with this price point, one would hope they'll put the time and the effort and the money into maintaining it. Because
I think so, yeah.
I'd love at some point in the future to actually see Rummy in action in person.
It's done really, really well. The table that we had was directly in front of Rummy, so set back a little bit from the bar. So we got to see 3 different show scenes in 45 minutes, and they were all different as well. Yeah. The one thing I would say is just like Oga's, like I like this better than Oga's Cantina, but I think just like Oga's, it's going to need reservations for like the next couple of years.
Okay.
Also, on last week's show, we mentioned that Rock and Roller Coaster's upcoming Electric Mayhem retheming would involve the same background story as with Aerosmith, that the band is in the recording studio and has to get across town fast for a live concert. And we pitched the idea of actress Ileana Douglas, Aerosmith's manager, playing the same role as the Mayhem's manager, right? Do you remember this, Jim?
Yeah, I do. Again, I think it was a brilliant, and still is a brilliant idea.
Okay, so I want you guys to know that I've contacted Ileana's management to suggest the idea, and that email definitely contained the line, "I assure you I am a rational, reasonably well-adjusted adult, which is exactly what someone who isn't a rational, well-adjusted adult would say in an email. Anyway, I've told management there's an opportunity. That's all I can do here, I think.
Okay, cool. Oh, speaking of rock and roll related things, on last week's show, as part of the feature, I mentioned that the first Hard Rock Cafe to open in the United States was the one in New York City, which, as loyal Disney Dish listener Craigie B pointed out to me over the past 7 days, was wrong. Turns out the first stateside Hard Rock Cafe actually opened in L.A. October of 1982. Was built at the Beverly Center at Glen. As for the first Hard Rock Cafe in New York City, that didn't throw open its doors till some 15 months later. That would have been March 12th, 1984. By the way, Len, my 25th birthday, and I think it was very poor form on the Hard Rock's part not to invite this already balding nerd, from Massachusetts down for the grand opening. But by the way, that Hard Rock was located Midtown Manhattan on 57th Street, and just wanted to thank Craigie B for pointing out my error. So,
thanks for that. I appreciate it. Very good. All right, on to surveys. Jim, I got a survey after visiting Hollywood Studios last week, and there were a set of questions that I thought were interesting here. One of them was this: which of the statements best describes your group's interest in meeting characters at Disney's Hollywood Studios on a future visit? And there are 3 options. The first one is, would be willing to wait in line assuming 30 minutes to meet a character. The second one is, we would not be willing to wait in line to meet a character. Seeing them in a cavalcade show or spontaneous sighting would be enough. Or 3, we would not be willing to wait in line to meet a character because we're not interested in character experiences. And I mentioned that because the next set of questions that we got was all around villains and name recognition for guests. So,
gee, Lan, I wonder what.
I wonder why.
There we go.
And there were actually so many villains presented that the survey stopped and said, we know you've looked at a lot of options here. Do you want to keep going? And I said yes. But the questions were this: please indicate to what extent you are familiar with the following characters from the Disney universe. If you are not aware of the characters, please select unaware. So it was like, very familiar all the way down to nothing. But Jim, all of them were villains. So I've captured 2 screens worth of information and I've pasted it in the show notes. And some of the ones are, familiar. Maleficent, Hades, Dr. Facilier, all the ones that you would get as the main villains from Disney's most recent or most famous movies. But Jim, there are other ones where it's like they asked how familiar I was with the Horned King. And was that from, which one was that from?
That was Black Cauldron.
Black Cauldron, that's what I thought. Yeah, making sure. Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, I couldn't remember it. Yeah.
And by the way, a quick plug here. I want to say it's October 11th. Neil O'Brien, who we had on the show to talk about his After Disney book, which is very much about Black Cauldron, they are actually screening at the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, right? Across from Flushing Meadow. On October 11th, they're actually screening the Black Cauldron in 35 millimeter, and then after that, Neil is going to give a talk about how that film was made, and I think afterwards he's actually going to be signing his excellent book. After Disney, but yeah,
send me a link to the event, and I'll put it in the show notes.
I will.
Fantastic. All right, Jim, on to listener questions. Here's a comment from Sean Conahan, who says this: after hearing about Disneyland's elimination of early entry for resort guests in 2026, I wanted to see how much of a room occupancy reduction it would take for Disney to lose money on this change. And so Sean created a spreadsheet, as all of our listeners would have done the same thing, but Sean did the work. So he says things like, there's 2,774 hotel rooms in Disneyland, and we know from the last earnings call that domestic hotel occupancy was around 82%. Making some reasonable assumptions and doing a lot of math, it might take around $190,000 to run one park for half an hour. So removing early entry seems to save just under $70 million per year in operating costs, mostly in labor. assuming 2.3 guests per room and that 20% of resort guests use early entry, and a blended average room rate of around $583 a night, hotel occupancy would need to drop by almost 15% for Disney not to come out ahead with this decision. And I posted a screen cap of the spreadsheet in Sean's, from Sean's in the show notes. But yeah, Jim, I mean, I didn't realize that it cost that much money to run a theme park for half an hour, but I mean, the numbers, let's put it this way. It's not off by a factor of 10 either way. So it's, you know,
Wow.
it's a decent estimate.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thanks for doing the heavy lift there. Holy cow. That's fascinating.
And it kind of makes you see the cost benefit analysis that Disney's doing there that comes in. It's like, yeah, we could do it, but if 20% of resort guests are using early entry, that's not enough to justify the $193,000 in run rate. Yeah.
Woof. Okay.
Yeah. All right. This one's from my friend Brad. And with the opening of Food and Wine, he's built a small web app that estimates your blood alcohol content after consuming adult beverages at Food and Wine. And I've added a link to it in the show notes. And then also a Food and Wine calculator for guests with diabetes.
Hey,
there
Brad,
you go.
Thanks. Okay. To be honest, I just want an app that lets me know that, at some time in my future, I'm going to be laying down on that fountain just under Spaceship Earth, to the effect of, all right, stop drinking, stop eating now. You're gonna embarrass yourself. You're gonna lie down on that fountain out front. Exactly, nobody wants to see that.
All right, the link to the one with the drink information is superfluffybunny.com/fwdrink.html. And the link for the one with diabetes is superfluffybunny.com/fwdiabetes.html. All right, another email from Matt Stout, who says, do you think it would benefit Disney to offer a more all-inclusive type of dining plan, getting more food money up front from guests and reducing capacity on attractions could be beneficial to everyone, assuming that those that are purchasing an all-inclusive dining option would still be paying for lightning lanes as well. Cedar Fair and other parks offer an all-inclusive option where you can get a meal every 90 minutes or so. What if Disney offered a premier dining plan that was the same thing? Every 90 minutes, you could have a quick service meal and snack. Every 4 hours, a table service meal. It'd have to be priced appropriately to work, but it might be a benefit that they aren't yet leveraging. And Jim, I think this is one of the reasons why the deluxe dining plan wasn't adopted more, is that if you're doing 2 or 3 sit-down meals a day, that's, 3 to 5 hours of your day just sitting and eating. And I think that's A, it's a lot of food, B, it's a lot of time.
What this makes me think of, Len, is one of my very first trips to the Walt Disney World Resort. And this would have been, this is pre-Epcot. This is literally, 79, something like that. And the Magic Kingdom Club used to have a vacation package called the Gold Key, where all meals were included as part of this. And I have to tell you that when you could eat a full breakfast and a full lunch and a full dinner, like 2 days into the trip, I remember I had my good friend Mike Sale along with me, and Mike viewed this as a personal challenge.
Exactly, competition.
Just the effect of, I'm going to eat a full-size meal, at every single, and I remember distinctly we had just finished, I think we were upstairs at Top of the World and had an amazing dinner, and we were coming downstairs, riding the escalator, and
buttons popping off your pants, like flying out at shrapnel levels of speed, right?
And anyway, Michael's looking a little green, and we pass an ashtray, and Michael lifts the top of the ashtray, leans forward into it, and I don't need to get specific here, but makes some horrifying noises and then just proceeds to slap the lid back down on the ashtray, and we move on. And again, remember, this is back when you could actually smoke at the Disney Resort. And, I always felt bad for the cast member who would eventually come along to clean this ashtray. And it's like, why is this heavier? And why does this really smell bad?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it just, when you can have a full meal at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your center of gravity shifts. It's harder to get around the parks. I don't know if I can actually recommend this experience in any good conscience.
Well, I'm interested to see if they bring back the the deluxe version of the dining plan, whether it includes 2 or 3, table service meals, and then what the uptake on that is. So if they do bring it back, Matt, what I'm going to do is I will add a specific question to the touring plan survey asking which version of the dining plan you got, so we can track a comparison there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, last question is from Joshua Lipstone. And Jim, this one's for you. And Joshua says this: I know that the Discover Riverboats closed on August 21st, 1999. And it made me think how great it would be if Disney brought this back in some form at the Animal Kingdom. Then I remembered at some point on the Disney Dish, you've mentioned that the Jungle Cruise might be in the future replaced with another attraction. Have you ever heard of Disney World moving something like the Jungle Cruise from one park to another? I know the Animal Kingdom is the real life version of the Jungle Cruise, and this seems like a perfect fit. So, Jim, I know we moved, because we just talked about it, I know we moved Carousel of Progress.
We did. From
Disneyland, but something like the Jungle Cruise, which is even bigger.
Well, what's fascinating about this is we just recently had Tokyo Disneyland indicate that its Jungle Cruise is in fact going away. In fact, that they're building an Encanto Incredibles. Their Adventureland sort of leans into things that happen in the jungle rather than the Jungle Cruise. But that means that giving up that boat ride in the middle of that part of the park opens up a huge swath of real estate. Yeah. And I there's a part of me that honestly would be sad to see, for example, the Jungle Cruise go away from, say, the Magic Kingdom in Florida. I mean, I'm one of those goons that really enjoys Jingle Cruise. But on the other hand, we have seen in the past, for example, plans for the Fire Mountain.
Right.
There we go. The Atlantis transforming coaster was going to be built back there, and every so often we do hear noise about potentially an Adventureland themed hotel. And I think that's the hard reality of the Jungle Cruise is this was Disneyland's real first e-ticket. And it was fascinating to watch as Disney began marching these parks out around the world. That, Walt Disney World got a Jungle Cruise and Tokyo got a Jungle Cruise. But by the time they were building Disneyland Paris in 92, it's like, nah, we're not doing it here. And even when they did it at Hong Kong, it's like, we're going to do a Jungle Cruise, only set it in basically the rivers of America. So it's kind of an attraction, and I'm being polite and honest here, whose time is kind of past, because it's, face it, you can't even call the mechanical animals along the riverbank or in the water. I mean, those aren't animatronics. Those are mechanical props. They're really simple actions. Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, I would not be sad to see it go in Walt Disney World for a couple of reasons. One is it's not the same as in Disneyland, which was the first one, right? So I know Disneyland's not a museum, but there is cultural significance to Jungle Cruise in Disneyland, and that kind of weighs into that decision. But the other thing is this. Look at how much space, go look at a map of the Magic Kingdom, which is among the most valuable real estate in the world, right? Look how much space Jungle Cruise takes up to service 1,100 guests an hour. Like, could you use that area for something that would entertain more than 1,100 people an hour? And I think we could throw a dart on any list of Imagineering projects for the Magic Kingdom and come up with something that's better than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And as Joshua points out, remember the original Discovery riverboats, those closed August of 99. And they actually had an incredibly sophisticated animatronic version of Eldara, the dinosaur from Disney's dinosaur movie. They're in the water, and they learned the hard way. It's like, sophisticated animatronic figure, water does not work together,
Yeah.
So,
yes, that's probably not, but it's an interesting idea. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim talks about the construction challenges that Disney faced when building Cars Land in DCA. We'll be right back.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
And we're back. All right, Jim, earlier this week when I was wandering around the Magic Kingdom, I took a good look at the drained rivers of America over in Frontierland and Liberty Square. And I have to say, Jim, that we have not acknowledged one group that has clearly benefited from the draining of rivers of America, and that is the bird population around the Magic Kingdom, because those birds were pecking at the dirt on the floor, the seabed of the riverbed of the rivers of America, like it was a Las Vegas buffet 10 minutes before closing time. And they were some happy birds, Jim. You could tell. I don't speak egret, but I could tell. Like those were some pretty content.
Yeah. And I face it, what Len describes, very, very much front of mind with Magic Kingdom fans. I mean, right now, the work that's being done with Rivers America and Tom Sawyer's Island to eventually transform that space into Piston Peak National Park. We can't really even call it site prep, right? I mean, this is the prep before site prep.
Yeah, they have to do demo first, and they haven't even done demo yet because everything's still standing. Yeah.
Though, that said, want to acknowledge a friend of the show, Bio Reconstruct, because people are a little concerned about what happened with the Liberty Bell. And he got a photo from on high of this Magic Kingdom favorite. It's safely docked backstage at Walt Disney World Service Marina. That's located northwest side of Bay Lake. And this is where all of the resort's watercraft of size goes to be worked on. But anyway, okay, so let's talk about, because people are looking at Piston Peak, and then that makes me think of the Cars Land.
Yeah, because the first question people have is like, how long is this going to take, right? How many years of and so this is a good analogy, right?
It is. In fact, worth noting that ground broke on the original Cars Land in 2009, I want to say October, and they actually had the land up and running by June of 2012. So, we're looking at 2.5, 3 years.
That's fair, yeah.
Once they get going. On the other hand, worth noting that Cars Land officially got announced October of 2007 when the company revealed they were going to do this $1.1 billion reboot of California Adventure. And Len, worth noting here, park had only been open 6 years and 8 months at that point.
Yeah.
And at this point, the company's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah, that amount of money in that short a time frame is the closest thing to a public acknowledgement of we should have done this right the first time that Disney's ever said.
There we go.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, worth noting that there were aspects of the Disneyland Resort expansion plan, which again, everything came online February of 2001. There's stuff that worked. Grand Californian and Spa worked. Downtown Disney, the retail, dining, and entertainment complex worked. Mickey and Friends parking structure and the speed ramps off of 5, those worked fine. And if I had to pick a particular favorite aspect of the redo, the Anaheim Garden District that grew up around the resort.
Right. It's beautiful. They did a fantastic job on that. Yeah.
They did. Absolutely. And so
it's really pretty. Yeah.
And so, here's the thing. The theme park going public loves everything about the expansion of the Disneyland Resort except California Adventure.
Except the actual attractions in Disney California Adventure. Yeah.
And they weren't shy from when the park opened February 8th, 2001. They were not shy about saying, we do not like this park. And as Mr. Testa and Jim Schul and I have discussed over on Disney Impact, company tried a couple of quick fixes to try to turn this around. They opened Bugs Land October of 2002. The West Coast version of Tower of Terror that opens May of 2004. In between there, we get seasonal events. Super Soap Weekend that debuts in the park spring of 2002. We get the X Game Experience. That's summer of 2003. None of this stuff, Len, moves the needle.
I mean, if Tony Hawk can't save
your
theme park, something's gone. Yeah.
Okay, so this gets especially dire in May of 2005 because Disneyland is about to celebrate its 50th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And it's in this window of time that Barry Braverman, the creative executive in charge of the original version of DCA, he quietly reaches out to veteran Imagineer Kevin Rafferty and asks for his help in turning the company's California Adventure problem around. And by the way, Kevin has written an absolute terrific memoir. It's called Magic Journey, My Fantastical Walt Disney Imagineering Career, which, by the way, Disney Editions, published back in September of 2019. And in this 320-page hardcover, Kevin actually goes into great length about this particular aspect of his career. So if you want to even learn even more about the story I'm about to share, go get yourself a copy of Kevin's book. But again, it's now 2005, and Braverman has pulled Rafferty aside and, look, I need your help. And what's interesting is why Barry reaches out to Kevin is he was not part of the original team that worked on California Adventure.
So what did that? A second opinion, some outside,
there we go.
Outside eyes, fresh eyes.
That's it exactly. He wants fresh eyes on the project. So here's a direct quote from Magic Journeys as to what Barry asked Kevin to do. He said, I need you to come up with something big, something that will bring more Disneyland DNA to DCA. And again, Rafferty in his book goes on to say that Braverman's request was a huge ask, a daunting, terrifying, monumental task, but boy, did I love the sound of it.
Yeah.
So Kevin now asks Barry for clarification. He says, so what are you looking for specifically? A new ride? And to which Barry replies, well, a new ride or even a new land. All right, this is Kevin's signal to dream big. Come up with something of size that would potentially give the theme park going public an entirely different impression of California Adventure. And in a moment, we'll talk about how, with a little help from a certain John Lasseter, Rafferty comes up with the idea for this, what was initially called Cruise Street, but at some point became Cars Land. But first, this.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free. Select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. One-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
And we're back. Okay, picking up where we left off, Len, we have Kevin Rafferty back in 2005 being told by Barry Braverman, creative executive who wrote Herd on the original California Adventure, that he needed to come up with a big idea that could potentially turn around the public's perception of the theme park that had been built across the way from the original Disneyland. And again, Barry's told Kevin, think big. Don't limit yourself to a single ride, but feel free to go even bigger, like maybe come up with a whole new land for California Adventure. So Rafferty goes back to when this project is officially announced. By the way, Len, this would have been July 1996 as part of the celebration of Disneyland's 41st anniversary. And he digs out the poster that the Imagineers created to show the public what this theme park was supposed to be about. And if in fact, I'll chase down a copy, we'll put it in the show notes. But if you look closely at this thing, there's the Sun Wheel, which teases Paradise Pier. There's a pair of hang gliders soaring high over the Golden Gate Bridge, which of course teases soaring over California. There's people in a whitewater raft, which again sets up Grizzly River Run. There we go. Yep. There's a prospector from the California Gold Rush holding up a nugget. This is a key moment from Golden Dreams, that film that Whoopi Goldberg hosted. But in the middle of this imagery line, the concept poster for the park, there's this bright red and white original model Corvette streaking across the center of the poster,
right below Mickey Mouse in the poster.
There we go.
Like center of the poster, right there.
And right by the way, Mickey Mouse is there behind a movie camera to set up Hollywood Pictures backlog. Okay, so this is the thing, that this park originally was supposed to have a ride or a show or something that celebrated California's car culture. But then, as Disneyland's original parking lot closes in January of 98, so working been at DCA, Grand California Hotel in the downtown Disney shopping district, interesting thing happens, Len, because the Imagineers cannot agree on how exactly they're going to celebrate the car culture. This project is put off to phase 2.
What were they thinking about?
Well, at least initially, and this is kind of a fascinating bend in the story, they discussed a daily parade, something that would celebrate the car culture. In fact, to be completely honest, Disney Stars and Motor Cars, the parade.
Right, that's right. Okay.
There we go. That began rolling through Disney MGM, October of 2001. Not a coincidence. That's the first year that DCA was open to public, because this parade was initially developed for DCA.
So strange. Okay, all right. But the idea got made. Okay, fine.
Well, but think about it. All right, if you put it through the California car culture filter, I mean, for example, the West Coast version of Disney Stars and Motor Cars would have featured Mickey and Minnie representing Hollywood Pictures backlot. They would have rolled through the park in an old limousine from the 30s. Okay. Launchpad McQuack would have represented Condor Flats by rolling through aboard an old Jeep from the 1950s. Okay. All right, Goofy and Max, they would have represented the beaches of California. They roll through, by the way, DCA did not have streets when it first opened. It had performance corridors land. Sure. And remember also, when DCA opened, didn't have lands, it had districts. But anyway, back to Max and Goofy, they would have rolled through the park in a Woody from the 1940s.
The station wagon.
There we go, with giant surfboards sticking out of the back. And Donald, Daisy, and not to mention the nephews, they would have represented California's national parks and by proxy Grizzly River Run by rolling through the park, pulling a vintage Airstream from the 60s.
Fun. Okay.
All right. So you get the idea. Standard Disney character parade for a Disney park. Allows guests to see the Fab Five. Also represents all of DCA's districts. So this is something, it even marches you through the history of California in decades. In fact, I'm blanking how Pluto was supposed to celebrate the 70s, but he was in there as well.
Like an AMC Pacer or something. Yeah.
There we go. Or, a genuine exploding Pinto. So, all right. Anyway, so as the story goes, this concept for a parade gets showed to Eisner. He's like, no, this won't do. This is a brand new kind of Disney theme park. We can't open with a standard character parade. This needs something bigger, bolder. So this is how we wind up with Eureka. Do you remember this one?
Right. Vaguely.
All right. I mean, the gimmick of it was each of the parade floats were giant, lovely women that on their backs then celebrated various aspects of California culture. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It had a great theme song, Come Away With Me, a real
I remember that.
All right. But visitors to DCA honestly thought that Eureka was a snooze, and this is why this parade gets its plug pulled in the late summer of 2002, just 18 months after the park opens. And by the way, the very next daytime parade to go into the park, the Pixar Play Parade, I mean, Len, that had characters out the wazoo. DC at that point was like, all right, what does the public want? They want characters? Absolutely. Let's deliver on that in spades. Since we're talking about the characters, again, there were some interesting ideas they trotted out with California Adventure. Do you remember how, when DCA first opened, the conceit was that Mickey, Donald, and the gang lived at Disneyland, but when they went on vacation...
right, in this vacation.
That's right.
Yeah. So they had these weird they had their vacation outfits on.
No, that's it exactly. I mean, you went to see Goofy, and he's there with a Rash Garden Jams on, where Mickey's got like a Hawaiian shirt and a baseball cap. It's like, I'm off duty. Anyway.
Quitting time, Sam. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Back to Disney Stars and Motor Cars. DC has spent all of this money developing a character parade for the first year of operation, only have Eisner himself say, nope, not big enough, not grand enough. And this is when the folks at MGM, who, by the way, getting ready to kick off their 100 Years of Magic celebration, which again, tied to the 100th anniversary of Walt's birth back December 5th, 1901, they raised their hands and they're like, hey, if you're not going to use that, can we have it? And folks at DC are like, sure. And so, Disney Stars and Motor Cars is such a hit with the folks who go to Disney MGM.
Amazing.
It ran at that theme park from October 1st of 2001 through March of 2008. And then, then to add further insult to injury here, the very same parade is then shipped over to France, where it begins a 5-year run at Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, where it rolls through that park April of 2009 through July of 2014. So it's one of those things where, and the folks at DCA, it's like, we had it. I mean, we spent the money to develop it, and it gets away.
And we give it to France.
And we gave it to France. All right.
Oh, so to be clear though, DCA couldn't run the parade while the redo was happening, right? So they were
no.
They were preparing. So the reason why they wanted to ship the parade to France was they knew they were going to do the construction for phase 2 of DCA.
Well, also worth noting, I remember by that point when they've announced the redo, the $1.1 billion redo of DCA, it's the very next year, 2008, when Pixar Play rolls through the park. In fact, they actually pause Pixar Play at the park in 2011 and only bring it back in 2012 because it was only during that period when it was just impossible with all of the construction fences and that sort of thing to run a daily parade through it.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So they sent the parade to France So that someone could use the parade while DCA couldn't. Got it.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. But at the same
Okay, fair.
time, MGM Hollywood Studios is Studio Park, Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris is the Studios Park. So it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, that fits here. Give it to us.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like the Cars land, the idea of a car-based land celebrating, California car culture only fits in DCA. Like you couldn't put it in the Magic Kingdom. You couldn't put it in Disneyland. Couldn't put it in Epcot. Couldn't put it in Animal, right?
Yeah,
It only fits in this park. So it's a great idea. All right.
No, absolutely. Anyway, now back to Kevin Rafferty, who, again, remember, has been handed this assignment in 2005, just as Disneyland is getting ready to celebrate its 50th anniversary, which is when Mr. Rafferty notices something interesting, that when Disneyland first opens, July of 55, Main Street, USA, is celebrating a not-so-distant past. To be specific, small-town America, circa turn of the century, 1905.
Yeah. 50 years earlier. Okay.
50 years earlier. So what if DCA, and again, remember, Barry Braverman's assignment to Kevin is to find a way to give California Adventure a big shot of Disneyland DNA. So what if DCA had a land like Main Street, USA, one that celebrated another piece of the not-so-distant past? But in this case, it's small-town America of the 1950s.
50 years from where they were. Okay, got it. Okay.
There we go. So big fin cars, malt shops, neon, doo-wop singers, which, by the way, if you're looking for a proof of concept, remember that Disneyland had actually done something like this in the 80s, the Blast to the Past.
Right. I remember this. Yeah, they brought in cars to drive down Main Street, USA from the cars from the 50s and 60s. Right. I remember this. Yeah.
That's it exactly. They built giant jukeboxes. They held hula hoop contests right out there in the street. And so this is why Kevin begins developing his concept for Cruise Street, a new land for DCA, one that would finally bring California car culture into this park, only to then have John Lasseter, the then head of Pixar Animation Studios, say, Kevin, I got a movie you got to see.
Speaking of automobiles.
There we go. All right. And we will pick up part 2 of this 3-part series on next week's Disney Dish.
That's fantastic. And Jim, I've added a poster of the Disney California Adventure preview to the show notes, so we can look at that all together. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over to patreon.com/JimHaleMedia, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. Our latest show was on the wild expansion plans of Disney MGM Studios, and there's a link in the show notes.
Oh, if I could interrupt here for a second. Again, of course, we do our Disney Unpack thing with Jim Schull, who has his Disney Journey thing, that his YouTube channel. In this, the show that's coming up this Friday, he's going to be talking about what's been released so far about Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets.
Oh, okay.
Which, again, given that Mr. Schull is the guy who actually designed the original version of that thrill ride for MGM, the one that used to star Aerosmith, you might want to hear what he has to say about this.
That's true. And I'm adding a link to Disney Journey on the show notes now. On next week's show, Jim continues the story of how Disney prepared DCA for Cars Land. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Kersey and David Gray, who'll be tuning up your 1, 3, and 4-wheel pedal-powered contraptions at the Adaptive Bicycle Day on Saturday, September 20th, 2025 at Lake Sammamish State Park. That's on Northwest Sammamish Road in beautiful downtown Issaquah, Washington. I mean, what is with these people in the naming conventions? Anyway, while Eric and David are doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.